The yarn in today's video is kindly sponsored by Hobbii. Hobbii is a Copenhagen-based company who sell yarn and crafting supplies to makers all around the world, and I was so thrilled that they reached out to me and asked me if I would like to review some of their yarn. In my last video, I briefly mentioned that I was very lucky to receive a big packet of yarn from Hobbii. I'm really excited to finally be able to share some of the things that they sent to me and maybe start swatching up some of the yarn to see what I want to make with it. I've got a few ideas of the type of things that I want to make for summer with this yarn, but I am also open to suggestions. So as I swatch along and give you a quick review of what I got, please do drop down any suggestions for cute patterns for these yarns down below in the comments. Anyway, let's get into it. So here is my massive bag of yarn from Hobbii. Yeah, I've opened it already because I couldn't resist having a quick sneak peek at what was inside. Now, along with all the yarn they sent me, they also kindly gave me a couple of really cute little notebooks, which I'll just show you now. So here they are. I've got one in pink and one in yellow, very summery, really cute. And I think, yes, they are this sort of dotted paper. So I reckon that these will be really good for drafting some of my pattern ideas. I don't know about you, but I just adore new notebooks. And they also sent me some little accessories, which are these very simple and sweet shawl pins. Now, I've been after a set of shawl pins actually, so these will be really handy, just because sometimes when you have a big shawl, it's nice to be able to clip it to hold it into place, so really good. Now on to the main event. So in here I ordered, I think it's 5 different types of yarn, so I really have quite a bit to show you. And I kind of went for a theme colour-wise. I wanted to go for sandy and neutral shades that I think will pair really well with navy and khaki and a lot of those summery colours that I like to wear. And I have projects in mind, as I mentioned, for some of them, but some of them are still up in the air, so I'm excited to see how they swatch up and to be able to figure out what I want to do with them. First up is Tweed Delight, which is an Aran weight wool blend that knits up on 4.5 to 5mm needles. Each 50-gram ball contains 100 meters. And this yarn is a blend of wool, acrylic and viscose. Now let's try swatching. This is probably one of the yarns that I was most excited to try, just because I will say I am a real fan of Tweedy yarns. I have used a couple of Tweedy yarns when making gifts for some of the men in my family. Holding it now in my hands, I will say that the yarn has a feel that makes it almost a little bit like a roving kind of yarn. So it definitely feels like if you were to pull it too hard, it may well come apart. In fact, I'll just try it at the end here and see just how much resistance I'm going to get. So I'm pulling, and actually I'm very impressed. We don't have any breakage at all. So even though I'm going to get the sort of puffy, squishy definition that I would from an unspun type yarn, I do get the feeling now, having tried to pull that, it's not actually going to fall apart on me when I knit, which is a huge plus. I really love all of the colours in this yarn. I've got 3 balls of it this time, but I think that this would be such a lovely choice for autumn when you don't want something really colourful, but you just want a touch of something special to a big, comfy, oversized jumper. They do have an impressive range of colours in this one. Another one which caught my eye but wasn't entirely my style was a sort of pink and rainbow yarn. And I know a lot of people really like that sort of colour, so I thought that I would point it out. I have to say I am really enjoying the handle of this yarn so far. Sometimes when I knit with this sort of fuzzy, almost unspun type yarns, I get the feeling that I'm going to plunge my needle in and I'm going to break it apart, and then I might cause a hole or a break and I'll have to sort of spit join the yarns together. So I really appreciate how with this yarn, I don't get the feeling that even when I do make a slight mistake and plunge my needle into the wrong place, that it will break apart or that I'll have to rejoin it. It actually feels, despite its soft and squishy and light texture, like it will be really, really firm. And I'll just give you a quick close-up now. Oh, it's really gorgeous. I really do like tweed yarns, and this one is quite special, I think. You can see there's quite a lot of texture and fuzz because the main component of this yarn is wool, so a South American wool, and the other materials that make up Tweed Delight are the acrylic and the viscose. And as I previously mentioned, I imagine that the acrylic actually gives it a little bit more stability and strength, which would make it quite good and hopefully a little bit more pill resistant in larger garments, because this type of squishy yarn does tend to sometimes pill around very used places. And yeah, there's a look at it. Very, very pretty. I love the simple, neutral little tweedy bits of this yarn. I'm really happy that I went with this colour choice called Chai Latte. I would really recommend it to anyone. And now I just need to decide on exactly what I want to make with my 300 metres of it. And some patterns that I think could be really cute in Tweed Delight include this simple and squishy looking forced beanie, which is available for free on Hobbie's website, and I'll link it down below. And I've also had my eye on the Sugar Boo bralette. I think that this could be a very nice piece to layer in the spring and autumn, maybe under a snuggly cardigan. Now the next thing that I want to swatch up are these two lovely shades of Diablo, a blend of 40% acrylic, 30% polyamide and 30% mohair. So these I think would make a gorgeous second strand, so you could hold it with something else a little bit thicker and just give your project a beautiful halo. I chose this in two colours just because I couldn't resist trying out this really amazing sort of multi-coloured wild print Diablo. I was really excited about trying this just because some of my testers for my Claudia sweater a few months back went for Diablo when they wanted to test the jumper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold a strand of each together and I'm going to swatch that up just to see how these colours mesh together. This gorgeous champagne tone and this colour, which is beautifully named, it's called Desert Fox, and what a perfect name for such a lovely colour. When I first saw this, I immediately thought that this would be a really, really good choice for one of the strands of the Petite Knit Marble sweater, because that has a sort of multicoloured marble effect going on, which is something that I was really reminded of when I first saw this Diablo wild print. So let's get swatching. I'm going to be swatching this up on my 4.5mm needles because those are the ones that I used when I made my Petite Knit Cumulus blouse, which is a project that does call for 2 strands of mohair. Now I assume that the polyamide in this yarn is probably the thread that you can see running through, holding that mohair and acrylic together. And I've tried several mohair yarns that I've enjoyed, and I will say that I don't think it makes too much of a difference whether you go for something which has silk thread or whether it has synthetic thread. The only thing that I've noticed is that a yarn that has a synthetic thread like this one will tend to be a little bit more sticky, as you can see here. But that's no problem at all. As soon as you pull it apart and start working with it, that goes away. Now, another reason that I just had to try this yarn is because, as many of you may well know, I'm always on the hunt for good, affordable mohair, because mohair, when you use it as a second strand in a larger project, can make things extremely expensive. And I'm very excited to say that this yarn, because Hobbii offers so many different sort of multi-buy packs, is very, very affordable. So this one, which is just the plain colour, you can buy it for a pack of 10 and get quite a big discount, and it comes to about £3.90 per ball, which for mohair, that's just really good. And this one, because it does almost look like a hand-dyed yarn, is a little bit more expensive, but you can get 8 balls of this priced with their discount at £5.33. Now that I've worked about a third of a swatch, I can see the beautiful colour from the Desert Fox colourway showing up, and you can see all of these lovely mottled shades of brown and sort of orange and cream. Absolutely gorgeous, and it really does look quite a bit like marble, so I think that it would be a perfect choice for something like the marble sweater. In fact, I might have to put these balls aside and save them for the autumn when I'm looking to make something comfy and cozy like that. And as I remarked earlier, I do find mohair yarns which are on a polyamide thread instead of silk to have just that little bit extra resistance when I put my needle in. It's almost like when mohair is on polyamide, the fibres kind of want to stick together and cling together a bit more. So it's almost like the yarn is like a little bit tacky. I do think that that resolved itself after the first couple of rows that are a little bit tighter. However, I do recommend you bear that in mind when you're selecting to hold this yarn double-stranded like I did. I actually think that it would be most perfect to hold with a different yarn, which is a little bit less tacky. Therefore, you'll have a bit more glide on your needles. I would also probably go for knitting this up if you wanted to knit 2 strands of it on metal needles instead of wood, because metal needles will allow it to glide off a lot more smoothly than my wooden ones did. The slight tackiness aside, I think that this is an absolutely gorgeous choice for anybody who's looking for a yarn that looks almost like it could be one of those fancy hand-dyed ones, but it's just so much more affordable than you'll ever find anything like that for. And it will make a fantastic second strand and really bring down the price on those larger mohair sweaters that you'll want to make in autumn and winter. This Diablo wild print yarn is a perfect match for anybody looking to knit up Petite Knit's marble sweater, or you can go completely wild with colour with this free pattern called Pia. Now the next 2 yarns that I want to test are ones which are absolutely perfect for summer, and they are the 2 cotton options that I selected when I did my order, and that is Baby Cotton Midi, which is 100% organic Egyptian cotton and feels very luxurious, and Rainbow, which is also 100% cotton, but is their slightly more affordable option that I imagine a lot of people use for crochet. Now these are 2 slightly different weights, so I'm going to swatch them up on 2 different needle sizes and see how they turn out. The Baby Cotton Midi is a sport weight yarn, and they recommend that you knit it up on 3.5mm needles. And the Rainbow is a little bit more of a DK weight, so that goes up to 4mm needles. So I'm going to start with the Rainbow first because it's a bit thicker. And one thing that I noticed when I ordered this rainbow yarn is that they all come with a little tab that says Easy Start. And I don't understand why more yarn brands don't do this. It's such a good idea because I know I spend absolutely ages sometimes just looking for the beginning of a ball. So this is super simple, just whip off the ball band and your start is right there. Now let's cast on. So the ball band for this one says that I'm going to get a gauge of about 20 stitches. So I'm going to cast on probably about 24. And I will say the initial feel of this yarn in my hands is quite lovely. I'm not somebody who has knit with many cotton yarns, but this summer I'm really trying to get into it because I'd like to explore the world of plant-based yarns a little bit more, just because they seem like the perfect choice for when the weather is a little bit warm. This is the DK version, but Hobbii also offers a fingering weight equivalent of this yarn. Something great about this yarn is also its extremely competitive price point. It starts at about £2.25 for one ball, but then if you buy larger quantities, it reduces quite significantly, with it being priced at £1.46 if you buy 20. And here I'll just zoom you in a little bit so you can more closely see my mini swatch that I've made. Overall, I'm really impressed with this yarn. Even though I think it's mainly targeted at crocheters, I feel like the even stitch definition and the nice firm sponginess of it would make it a nice choice for knitting summer garments too. And I also really adore this slightly sun-bleached terracotta colour that I think has a lot of character. And the sheer quantity of shades that they offer with this rainbow yarn is truly impressive. I would say that there's something there for everyone, and whether you knit or crochet, you would probably really enjoy this lovely, extremely soft cotton, which comes at such a great price point. I think that this cotton would be a fantastic choice for a wide variety of summer tops, but one pattern in particular that really caught my eye was the Libellule summer top on Hobbie's website. Now this is a free pattern that I highly recommend you check out because I think it could be really sweet for the summer, whether you decide to keep the fringe or just go with the scalloped lace edging. It could be a lovely, intricate piece to make that will keep you cool when the weather gets really warm. The second of the two cotton yarns I have to show you is this very luxurious baby cotton midi, which is 100% organic Egyptian cotton. This is a sport weight yarn that knits up on 3.5mm needles, and each 50-gram ball contains 104 meters. Something that particularly excited me about the baby cotton organic line is that there was one option which was completely undyed, which is this lovely colour that I've gone for. I just really fancied trying a yarn that was undyed because I don't have much experience with working with yarns like that, and I think that this is such a gorgeous kind of creamy shade that will be perfect for summer. This undyed shade is shade number 15, and Baby Cotton Organic Midi comes in a range of 15 quite muted pastel tones for spring and summer. And even though this yarn doesn't come in the extensive shade range that Rainbow does, I think that these colours are really perfect for the warm weather. Neither of these yarns are mercerised, and so they are soft and plump and don't have that slick texture. I personally prefer this finish because I find that I enjoy the feel of it, and I think that it would be quite cool against my skin. This yarn can also be washed in the washing machine for easy care. Now, both of these yarns, being cotton, don't have that much give or stretch in comparison to something like a wool. But I will say that the rainbow yarn feels slightly less rigid than this organic cotton does. Both of these yarns give an even and clear stitch definition that I think would make them very pretty in a range of spring or warm weather sweaters. And I will say that the organic cotton has a little bit less stretch than the rainbow, but it just makes it feel like it would be very comfortable and probably quite durable. As I mentioned, I think that this would be a great choice for warm weather sweaters, but I personally selected this yarn because I wanted to make the Gaia top, which is one of the pieces on my spring knits for this year video that I did a couple of weeks ago. I hope that the strength and quality of this yarn will make it a great match for this simple and elegant pattern, and I'm sure that I'm going to get tons of wear out of it this summer. If you're interested in any of the yarns I mentioned in this video, do check the links that I've put down below in the description box. And be sure to have a look at Hobbie's website and some of the fun things they offer, like Hobbii Plus, which is a subscription service that allows you to access extra points and premium patterns, or Hobbii Bingo, which is a little game that lets you win prizes. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it or found it informative, give it a like, and if you want more content like this, then go ahead and click subscribe. Bye!